Hi everyone, welcome to the Graduate School to Graduate School webinar. My name is Callie Nelson and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the Graduate Assistant for Graduate Student and Postdoc Advising and Programs at UConn Center for Career Development at the Storrs campus. So before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in this webinar. You should see your attendee interface on your computer desktop in the upper left corner. You will have the opportunity to submit questions by typing your questions into the chat pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during this presentation. Since this is a previously recorded webinar, these questions will be emailed to the center and answered within 3 to 5 business days. Note that a recording of today's webinar will be emailed to you within 24 hours. There is also a short evaluation that will appear at the end of the webinar for you to complete. So here are some of the things that we'll be going over today. We are going to talk about some of the things to consider before applying to graduate school again. We'll also talk about some strategies for developing materials, and we'll also walk through a few examples. So right now you're going to a prestigious university with a very cute dog mascot, and you're thinking about potentially going to another prestigious university with hopefully just as cute of a dog mascot. It might even be the same university and dog, but the first thing that you should do before getting any farther with that is to think about whether this is the right choice for you. So something to consider is, what are your reasons for applying to another program? If you're applying to another program, you've already gotten into graduate school and completed at least part of your graduate degree. And thinking about why you want to pursue another degree is important before you decide whether this is the right choice for you. So here are some reasons to pursue another degree. One would be that your desired career needs a different degree. Sometimes if you make a career change and you decide that you wanted to do a different career, or if you feel like your degree would not be helpful in the career that you'd like to go into, it can be helpful to pursue another graduate degree. Another reason would be to develop specialized knowledge and skills. If getting another graduate degree would help you get more skills that you're interested in achieving for your future career, that's something that you can do in another graduate degree program. To switch careers, like I said, sometimes you need some different qualifications when you switch careers. To contribute to your field knowledge base, this comes up a lot with master's students going into PhD. If they really want to continue their research or they want to continue contributing to the field knowledge, and that's something that can make people want to continue to pursue their different degrees. To focus more on research, this is also comes up with master's students, but also other degrees. If you want to focus more on research, if you feel like you're more interested in pursuing research professionally, it might be a good idea to pursue another degree program. Another reason is that you're really passionate about the topic and you want to keep learning about it. So something else to consider is, does the program that you're applying to match your professional and personal requirements? These things are different for each person, but it's good to consider these before you get into your other degree program. It's important to think about this because if you end up in another degree program and if you don't think about it beforehand, you can sometimes think like, oh my gosh, this isn't what I wanted. I don't know why I'm here. So it's really good to think about what are your reasons and also, is the program the right fit for you? So here are some professional requirements that come up. So a faculty fit, are there faculty members that can help you achieve some of your goals? Can they help you with research? Is it a good match? Facility, would this facility have enough resources and technology for you to continue with your research or to expand upon your research? The program, is the program a good fit for you? Are the goals of the program, the general philosophy of the program, are those things that work for you? Funding, this is a big one. Are you going to be able to receive funding from your program? Is your program funded by the university well? Those are things to consider. Also, applied experiences. This comes up for people in medical, educational, psychological fields where you do applied experiences. It's important to think about whether those are going to be helpful for you, especially, and things to consider could be like different settings such as the hospital, educational settings, outplacement settings, whatever it is. You want to make sure that those applied experiences are going to help you continue with your career and help to build your skills. And it's also good to consider where these experiences will be, such as an urban, rural, suburban environment, and whether that would help you continue to expand your career. So student outcomes are also important to look at. So where have students actually gone after continuing their degree? What kind of jobs do they have? It's good to look into those before actually applying to another program. So here's some personal requirements. So enrollment, part-time or full-time, should think about which one works better for you. Location, are you bound by a certain location or general area or part of the country? Is there a specific state or city that works the best for you? Financial things such as loans, assistantships, scholarships. What are the options for getting things like that at the university? And would something like part-time or full-time employment be something that you'd like to pursue? And timing as well. So maybe if you want to end up finishing the degree that you're doing right now, or if you want to wait, if you're thinking about changing in the spring, you might want to instead realize that fall works better for you. So it's good to think about what your constraints are with timing and what will work the best for you in your field. So something else to consider is there anything different that you would do about applying again? So you've already gotten into a graduate degree program, and you've already continued with some of your degree at least. And if you're thinking about applying to another program, you already have that expertise. So what are some things that you would like to do differently that you didn't do the first time you applied? So those are some things to think about and make sure that you address those with your application. So before applying again, it's also really important to determine what your goals are before you apply, both personally and professionally. This is something that you can think about with your career or what you'd like to do in the future, and also review your reasons for going to graduate school again. And determining those goals will make it much easier to find a program that fits well for you. So it's very important to make sure that the decision is right for you and your goals. And also the strong idea of your goals will be helpful in writing your application materials. So really go through some of these topics that we've talked about and do some self-reflection and think about what your goals are for the future and how this degree would help you more. So some application materials, when you submit applications to graduate school, which you've already done before, if you're applying to a different program, might be the first time writing another personal statement or some other documents that perhaps you haven't written before. So we are going to be focusing on the personal statement today and how to talk about your previous graduate experience. So a personal statement is a compelling story about how or why you were drawn to a particular field of study, program, or career path. It's also a narrative of development or to illustrate a match between an applicant and a program. So personal statements are really different depending on the field and the program in the university, but these are some general ideas of what personal statements are. They're an opportunity for you to talk more about what got you interested in the program, what got you interested in the field in general, and how your professional and academic journey for getting to this part in your life. It should not just be a repeat of the resume and the CV. So sometimes with personal statements, I see that people will list everything that they've done. So I've done this research thing, I've done this teaching thing, I've done this applied thing, and that's the end of my personal statement. That's pretty much your CV or your resume. So the personal statement gives you some more room to talk about how you match well with the program and some of your goals and what you would like to do professionally. So you should focus on things like that instead of just repeating everything that's on your resume or your CV. They already know that because you included that with your application. So try to make your personal statement a little bit different. It should also enhance a particular element of the resume or the CV. So chances are that you have a lot of really great experiences, and it's too much to talk about all of them in one personal statement. So it's usually a good idea to focus on a few things that you've done. So a few areas such as like research, teaching, applied experiences, specific areas like that, instead of just focusing on everything that you've ever done. Because it's just too much and they already know about that stuff from your resume and your CV. Obviously, you can use some of the examples from the things that you have listed in your resume and your CV, but it shouldn't just be everything that's on there. It's just a little bit too much. So the prompts differ based on the field and the university and the program. So here's some common ones. How did you come to your chosen field and why do you want to pursue a graduate degree? And why do you want to attend the program or the specific university? So those are really common ones that come up, but sometimes they can be really different. So it's good to check and make sure that what you're writing is really answering that question. So they're typically around 1 to 3 pages double spaced, and that's with regular margins and with 12-point font. So they are pretty short, and different universities have different requirements. So that's why it's not a good idea to repeat everything in your CV or your resume because it's just too much. If you talk about all of it, it would probably be way more than 1 to 3 pages. So brief, that is something that sometimes comes up. Instead of having a specific word count or a page limit, they'll say to write a brief statement. And brief means really different things to different people. It could mean anywhere from 200 words to 10 pages. So it's good to think about 1 to 3 pages if you end up getting prompt that's brief, because it means very different things. So it's very important to follow specific university requirements. So even though these are some general questions that usually come up with personal statements, some universities and programs will have very different prompts, and they'll have very different word limits or page limits. So it's very important to follow those requirements. So here's some things to include in your personal statement. You should include your goals and focus on how another degree would help you achieve your professional goals. So I see sometimes people will talk about all the things that they've done, and they'll say like, I got my master's here, and they're applying for a PhD program, and not actually talk about why they want to go into a PhD program. It's really important to focus on that, because and how it would help you with your career progress, and how it would help you with gain some of the employment options that you're looking for, things like that. Because if you don't mention it, I can promise you it will come up later. People will wonder, why are you applying for this in the first place? So it's important to talk about what your goals are, and then talk about how the degree would be helpful in helping you achieve those. So it's also important to acknowledge what you've learned in your last program and what you can bring to the next program. So even if you didn't love your graduate experience that you've had so far, you've gained some skills and you have some new experiences that are different from some other people. So it's important to acknowledge what you've learned. And since that makes you unique, that you already have some experience in graduate school, it's a good idea to talk about how that could help you in your next program. So another thing to identify is why. So why this degree? Why do you want to get this degree in the first place? Why do you want to go to this university in particular? Why this program? Why this faculty? Why these facilities? And why grad school again? So these are some things that are really helpful to think about when you're writing your personal statement. So also to keep it simple, like I said earlier, you were applying with your resume and your CV, and you might be having some other things that you're including, like a writing sample or a diversity statement or something like that. And you also may be interviewing. So you don't need to describe everything that you've ever done in your personal statement, because it's not the only thing that you're applying with. So another thing to do is to stay positive. And what I mean by that is to not be super negative in your personal statement. So sometimes people will say, I got into my master's program, my PhD program, and I realized that I hated it, and that I didn't like my advisor. I didn't like the way my research was going. I didn't like these opportunities with my professional experiences. And I think it'd be a lot better if I went to this university. That might be the case, but it makes you sound really negative, because you're talking about everything that you don't like. So instead, I would recommend talking about the things that you do like. So when I was in my master's degree, my PhD, I realized that I really was passionate about this type of research, and I decided that I wanted to pursue it more. And at this next university, they had these things that could help me achieve it. So that's really focusing on what you like instead of what you didn't like. All right, so that also means don't be negative about your advisor. It's important to not say like, I really hated my advisor, it was not a good match for you. Even if that is true, academia is a really small world, and they might actually know that person, even if you think that they don't. And it also makes people think, what are the chances that you'll be negative about them if you attend that program? So try not to be negative about your advisor, and try not to be negative about your program. Yeah, academia is a small world, and schools don't want to accept people who they think might be negative. They want you to like the program and to represent the program well. So try to be as positive as possible. So focus on what you do like and what your goals are, and mention what you learned in your past program and what you would like to learn in your new program, and how you can expand upon the things that you already have and the skills you already learned in your new program. So we're going to do a few examples. So here's the first one. So I'm going to read this to you, and I would like you to take a few minutes to ponder on what you think about this part of a personal statement. So this isn't a whole personal statement, obviously, but here's a selection. So I've chosen this MA program due to its high quality research facilities, outstanding faculty, as well as emphasis on the comprehensive learning environment. I'm hoping to experience a whole lot more, and knowing more about business will eventually give me an edge in working effectively. So take a moment to ponder on this. So what are some things that are good about this? What are some things that are bad about it? I would say overall it is very vague. So they're talking about how they have high quality research facilities, outstanding faculty. I don't know what those facilities are. I don't know who those faculty members are. Knowing more about business will eventually give me an edge in working effectively. In what environment? What kind of business would you like to go into? Are you teaching? Are you looking to go into industry? hoping to experience a whole lot more. I don't know what that is at all. I don't know what they want to experience. They could want to experience different supervisors, learn to supervise people, learn more about research, learn more about teaching. I really don't know. So this is pretty vague. So here are some of the things that are vague: the research facilities, the faculty, comprehensive learning environment. What about it is comprehensive? What do you like about it? So that's pretty vague. So let's try this one. In my current program, I realized that I was not interested in working with patients in a clinical setting, as I did not enjoy the frequent stress of this fast-paced position. I would rather work with patients in an educational setting. I believe that changing to the educational psychology program at UConn would better serve my career interests and goals. So what do you think about this one? So I think that the main problem with this one is that it is very negative. So they're talking about how they're not interested in working with patients. They did not enjoy the frequent stress of a fast-paced position. And they're still applying to something that's kind of in their field. So they're still working with patients and they'd like to do it in an educational setting. So that would make me think as a faculty member in another university that they might not be a good fit for another program, even because they didn't like the fast-paced environment and they would rather be in an educational setting. I can promise you that educational settings are still fast-paced environments. They're also talking about how they're not interested in working in a clinical setting, and that would make me wonder why you're not interested in it, especially when you're applying to similar fields. It's better to think about, this is what I really liked more. This person could have talked more about, like, they worked in a clinical setting and they're interested in bringing some of their knowledge to an educational setting because they like how much education affects the community or how many students it actually impacts. So that would have been better than really focusing on what they're not interested in. So they also say that it would better serve my career interests and goals. That might be the case, but it is still pretty negative. And they're also not telling you why. So instead, I would say something like, I believe that the educational psychology program at UConn is a great fit for me because it would help me bring some of my clinical skills to working with other students, things like that. So basically talking about what they would like instead of how it would better serve them and how much they didn't like their other program. So here's one more. As I reached the end of my program, I discovered that I still wanted to contribute more to soil science research academically, and that I wanted to familiarize myself with additional research methods that I had previously utilized. Pursuing a PhD would allow me to have more flexibility in my future career, whether in academic or private research. I would like to continue my involvement at Ohio State through I would like to continue my involvement at Ohio State through contributing to Dr. Brown's work on soil microbial ecology and gaining further skill in geospatial analysis for my professional career. What do you think about that one? So this one I would say is better. So some of the things that are good about it, they're talking about their goals and how they want to contribute more to soil science research academically. So that's why they're applying to a PhD program. And they also want to learn about some more research methods. But they say something that they could do better would be, they talk about additional research methods that they previously utilized, but they don't tell you what the ones they previously utilized were or what the new ones would be. So they could be a little bit more specific in that area. They also talk about how the PhD would give them more flexibility in their future career and that they're unsure whether they want to do academic or private research. And then at the end, they specifically mention a faculty member and their work on soil microbial ecology and how they're interested in continuing with geospatial analysis. So it's much more specific. It is nice and positive, and it's talking about what they like instead of what they don't like and how they would be a good fit for this specific position at this university. So to recap some of the things we talked about today, when you're writing a personal statement, it is important to focus on your goals and to identify the whys about why you would like to go to graduate school again. Why would you like this faculty, this facility, everything like that. Keep it simple. Don't talk about everything you've ever done. You've done way too many amazing things to fit it into 1 to 3 pages. Focus on just a few. Keep it positive. Try not to be negative about your previous experiences and focus on what you like instead of what you don't like. And then also be confident about your abilities. You were able to get into graduate school once. You can do it again. So who's awesome? You're awesome. So that wraps up our graduate school webinar. Please consider booking an appointment with the Center for Career Development to further develop your career plans and know that we are available to help you explore and pursue options. As a final note, you will be emailed a recording of this webinar in the next 24 hours and a brief evaluation will pop up at the end of the webinar. Thank you for listening and all the best as you continue on your career journey.